Jumpin' In on Manx Radio.
With Howard and Chris Kane.
Hello.
Good evening.
And welcome. And here we are, once again, a Saturday evening, not any old Saturday evening on Manx Radio, because it's Saturday evening in the middle of TT week, which means it's a bit of a speedy special here on Jumpin' In, the best in modern and contemporary jazz, with myself, H.
And me, Chris. Yes, welcome along to this week's show, and unless you've been asleep for a week or locked in the cupboard under the stairs, you'll know, of course, TT is here again. There are bikes everywhere, and you can have all the fun of the fair on the prom, perhaps unexpectedly, but the world's greatest road race brings daredevil riders from all over the globe to pit their wits and skill against 37 3/4 miles of twisty and turny country roads to set new lab records and perhaps grab a prize. So we thought we'd join the fun with this speedy edition. So H, what's had your pulse racing this week, and what has nearly sliced your nose off as you tentatively edge out of your gate onto the course?
Oh, well, I'll keep it short and sweet. We'll have some initial speed, we'll have a TTT, and perhaps the inevitable delay.
And for me, well, there's only one way, it's toll-free. We try not to get caught. We're the fastest falcon, and to start, perhaps the place where you put your feet up after the race. Here's Speed Couch.
I thought that was you at the end. I must
No,
admit.
bless you. I thought it was you too. No, but I knew exactly it wasn't. The speed couch. Perhaps an unusual way to take to the road, but nonetheless, I have definitely seen a motoring couch driving past on the island roads in the past. And a garden shed, come to that. Trombonist, composer and band leader Helge Sunder and his ensemble Dinara, a great band. And indeed a great album. The 2013 release Windfall sees the 15-piece band work through 7 original compositions. And this is one of those albums that whenever I pick it up and listen to a track, I find myself going back to the beginning and listening to the whole thing. I think, as in fact a couple of guests we've had on the show have said in the past, that thematic suites of work are best listened to all the way through rather than odd tracks picked out of them, and undoubtedly composed with that in mind. It'd be great to catch them live. They've only recorded 4 albums to date, with the most recent one being a 2017 live set. We haven't had that yet. Should you find yourself in Norway, look out for them.
Terrific stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing them live at all. This gentleman, this is going way back into the mists of time. It takes me back, I don't know, more years than I care to remember. It was a track I loved when you first played it many moons ago. You might have even been at college yourself and in short trousers. Who knows? Phil Manzanera, and with fame, 801 fame as well, of course. This track just under his name, I think. It might be with 801. I can't remember. Either way, it's a great track. Ideal for our TT special, as it's called, just what you need at the beginning of a race week. Initial Speed. Still sounding good after all of those years. 1977, I think I'm harking back to there with a quick blast of good jazz rock, or is it rock jazz? I don't know, really. It's a genre which is fairly loose, to say the least. Phil Manzanera with 801, just checking on that, he's with 801, like I said, back in the 70s when we were, well, I was in my teens, I think I'll leave it at that, I dare say. And just looking online, it looks like it was digitally remastered in the year 2000. I'll have to have a listen to that, although very rarely are these sort of remastered ones better than the originals, in my humble opinion. But maybe this might be the exception to the rule, but worth checking out if you don't know it before. Good stuff, and ideal for that TT. That's exactly what you need, isn't it? The grandstand, initial speed.
I have to say, having dug a couple of albums on vinyl and not replaced them, added to them by getting them on CD from Phil Manzanera, I went on the website and they came directly from him, signed and with a note from Phil inside, which is
now that's service.
The best way to get the service. Next from me, a rock legend who, in this departure from style, won a Billboard Jazz Album of the Year back in 1975 with a wholly instrumental album produced by Beatles producer George Martin. Any guesses?
No.
Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck. After his time with the Yardbirds, he formed the Jeff Beck Group with Ron Wood and Rod Stewart, who after a couple of albums left to form the Facers. Beck then formed a new band, adding keyboardist Max Middleton, who after a short sojourn with Beck, Carmen and Apis, went into the studio to record Blow by Blow. And this is something we all want to avoid this week, Freeway Jam. The fantastic Freeway Jam from Blow by Blow by Jeff Beck. The album has sold over 1 million copies and still remains his biggest seller. Jeff sadly left us at the beginning of this year, age 78. The Beatles also featured the track also... Start again. The album also features one Beatles number, which I think might have been George Martin's influence, and 2 tracks from Stevie Wonder, one of which, Thelonious, has Stevie uncredited playing clavinet on it, and the other one, Because We've Ended as Lovers, pretty much ended up to be Jeff Beck's theme tune. After the success of Blow by Blow, Beck augmented the group with Minnie Moog, Wiz, Jan Hammer, and recorded a number of great, if somewhat rockier, albums. Also instrumental, Wired and Live Wired, and with Blow by Blow, all worth digging out. Max Middleton on keyboards, Phil Chen on the bass, Richard Bailey on the drums, and of course the great guitar playing of Jeff Beck.
Yeah, amazing to think he's gone. He was 78. Yeah. You think? You just think you hear these guys and you think, yeah, they're just sort of stuck in the 30s or 40s or 50s. Amazing. Anyway, another gentleman who's no longer with us is this. We're going to cool things down with this next one, Bill Evans, and we are, of course, in the middle of the TT, which is why we're having our Speedy special. And whilst I don't know whether Bill Evans was a biking fan or not, I don't think he ever came to the TTT, but he did record TTT. TTT. Nothing to do with bikes. It's a 12-tone tune. Very nice indeed. Bill Evans on piano, Eddie Gomez bass. Elliot Zygmunt on the drums, one of the later editions of the Bill Evans trio, not the classic one, of course, with Scott LaFaro and Paul Motion. Recorded and only recently released, I think, newly discovered concert recording, and only released a few years back, to the best of my knowledge, 2017 or thereabouts, although it harks back to the 1970s again, recorded live, as you gathered there, in concert at the Madison Union Theatre, we're told, on Monday, November the 15th, 1976. And still sounding on particularly good form there, even though, like I said, it's at the upper end of perhaps where you might be thinking of listening to a lot of the Bill Evans recordings. TTT, just the job for TT.
And there seems to be a huge cache of
endless.
yet unpublished Bill Evans material, all recorded really, really well. How do you follow that? Well, with another great pianist, and one we were lucky enough to catch a few words with many years ago at the Brecon Jazz Festival, which incidentally is back this year with 10 days of concerts from the 6th to the 20th of August, and the main weekend being the 11th to the 13th if you fancy a trip down to Wales. Kenny Barron, definitely one of the best living pianists today, and if you like a straight-ahead piano standards, his two live at Bradley's albums, for me, I'd say, are a must. However, tonight we have a track from his 2007 release, The Traveller, and it's another thing we'll want to avoid this week, Speed Trap. Speed Trap from the fantastic Kenny Barron, featuring his regular trio of Kiyoshi Kitagawa on bass and Francesco Mela on the drums. And on that track, Steve Wilson on soprano sax, and of course the great Kenny Barron on the piano. He'll be 80 next week, so happy birthday to him a bit in advance.
Yes, indeed. Great playing there, wonderful, really tight and swinging along, very speedy, perfect for what we're doing today. It's a bit of a speedy special to celebrate TT here on Jumpin' In. This next one is something, well, I'm afraid it usually happens most TT weeks, but it's not one of those things that you want to happen. Waiting for the delay.
Hi, everybody. I'm Nick Bertsch, composer, pianist, producer from Zurich, Switzerland. Looking very much forward to be on your radio for Jumping In on Manx Radio. And you might hear some of my music. Thanks a lot, Howard and Chris. This comes directly from the Zen Funk main station.
There we go, a little TT twofer for you there, if you see what I mean. First off, Guy Barker, haven't heard that for ages, from the album Soundtrack, and I hope we don't get this during TT Week. That track was called Waiting for the Delay. Yeah, we all know about that during TT Fortnight. The weather's looking good though, so fingers are crossed. And then we follow that, segued straight into a track called Crossface Cradle, and you think, why is that on a TT? Well, how could you have a programme about the TT without something from the Chris Speed trio? Chris Speed on tenor, Chris Tordini on acoustic bass, and the wonderful Dave King at the drums.
Well, that's about it for this week's show, but we've just about got time for a track from guitarist Gary Boyle, who, incidentally, we caught up with on Brecon on a number of occasions. Gary Boyle formed the band Isotope, which toured extensively in the 70s with Jeff Clyne, Brian Miller and Nigel Morris. Went on to do a couple of well-received albums in his own name toward the end of the decade, The Dancer, and this one, Electric Glide. And on the track we're about to hear, he's joined by friend and Coliseum 2 guitarist Gary Boyle. If you wanted one of the fastest bikes in the world for the last 24 years, you couldn't go wrong with one of these. Here's a Hayabusa. Stay safe.
You stay safe out there.